his present with him. The important thing is that this conversation is going to be streamed live on Artistic Facebook and YouTube pages. And it's going to be available for viewing at a later point as well. And we highly encourage that you share this with other people who might be interested in pursuing the same. I would now like to hand it over to my colleague, Jay Palari, the Artistic Director of Artistic Center for Movement Arts, who's present in studio with us to take over and start the conversation with Joan. Over to you, Jay.
We had a long evening. That was wonderful. All of you at SDT, I just wish to say a big thank you for this wonderful workshop and the presentation, followed by this life and times as well. Now, just a couple of small points. I just wanted to ask Joan and anybody from the SDT, how the whole film was shot on one camera or multiple camera. And then second, it was wonderful to see the panels moving, back and forth, almost like archetypal images. So would you like to say something about the process? And I know you did it at the peak of the pandemic, and quite intense work. Thank you so much for that beautiful piece of work. Over to you, Joan.
Thank you, Jay. Yeah, it is shot in just one take, literally, and this is, all the credit definitely must go to Tao-Anas, who's the digital artist that we worked with for the Life and Times. He was present in the rehearsals for quite a few weeks, actually, when we were creating the work. At first, I was playing with my mobile phone, moving around, and then he took over, and he is actually the only person who is on stage really for the 60 minutes, the duration of the entire piece. Now, as we were watching, it was interesting to relive the experience, because of course, I think what that does, 60 minutes of an uninterrupted take, is that it just brings to the fore the liveness of the event, and that's something that I think we were all really keen to keep and to share with the audience, despite the fact that the performance is digital, that there is still that sense of liveness to it, and of course that goes with taking risks, and some of my favorite moments in the pieces when actually things go slightly off, when we don't quite achieve the effect that we wanted. It's brilliant because it reminds me, actually, this is live, and this is what we love about live theater, which is what is, I suppose, at the core of the performance. And you were just mentioning there, this was done, in the core of the pandemic in June 2021, and it was the first time that we were coming together, the full company, to create a work of this sort of like scale and ambition, and I think we somehow wanted to celebrate that space of the building of a theater, but also of that sort of experience that theater can give us, that is very strangely analog in this sort of like digital, even in this digital format. So hence seeing all of those sort of like different tricks, and like you were saying, like those panels that we keep bringing on and off, and that reveal and conceal images. And you use the word archetypes, and I think that's spot on. I think there were sort of figures that were emerging during the process, and especially, I suppose, Jesse and Kieran's figures. We didn't know that wasn't our intention when we started the process, we didn't know, we devised it together. But then there are other moments definitely where we see perhaps, I don't know, images that remind us of the vulnerability of the body, of corpses maybe, but then sometimes it's very much like a portrait or like a painting. And I think all of that sort of allegorical nature of the images, I think, is perhaps connected to the theme of time, and which was something that was very present when we were making the work, and how our perception of time has changed in the last few years. But I suppose also this sense that that the piece sort of embraces this aesthetic of the Baroque, which again wasn't sort of appeared during the performance, and we were inspired by lots of paintings and imagery from the Baroque period, where there is this sort of allegorical, archetypal paintings where you see these gods. We definitely looked at Bacchus as a reference, the Greek god of sort of like wine and feasting, etc. And these different mottos that often you see in Baroque art around the passing of time, the remembering of death, and the fact that we're all vulnerable, but then also the encouragement to, in a way, then enjoy life and enjoy the senses and enjoy being in the present moment. And I think that's what we wanted to give to our audiences, that sort of invitation to be in the present.
Thank you. I have one more question before I open it out to, there are the dancers who are participating in the workshop. Some of them are here in the studio. See, also it reminds me about the theater of Molière, and also the ideas of David Campbell's, alchemy and all that kind of images. So I wonder, how was it for the dancers to work with a theme of senses, particularly the food and its relationship to life? Any one of you can answer. Then I will take questions from the audience.
Hey, great question. I suppose there's a whole range of ways that we have connected to the senses. For me, it's extremely tactile. So my character is finding objects, liquids, flour, and each time I meet them, there's a kind of excitement about what that might mean, what the possibilities are, how I could use it to create something, this idea of creation. And then, of course, in the final scene, I get to really go tactile and just sort of allow my body to completely be immersed in all the different ingredients. But I think throughout the piece, generally, even if there's no sort of obvious connection to a particular food or a particular texture, it's in our bodies, it's in the whole cast. And perhaps Ben might talk now a little bit about putting a particular texture, like maybe kneading dough into your flesh, and how that can sort of like tell a story in itself and conjure up emotions and feelings.
Okay, thanks, Jessie. Yeah, so I guess as Joan has already brought up, there was a lot about the kind of the vulnerability or the fragility of flesh and of the body. And I guess for me also something about what really moves you as a flesh. Like, is that something that's of your own will or your own desire, or is that something that's kind of happening to you, that's somehow being imposed by invisible forces or by visible forces? So I guess something about this dough, like bread dough, that somehow it's something that's really manipulated and really moved, but it's also kind of alive, like it grows and spills and stretches, and it kind of has its own agency. And I guess somehow as a performer, to place myself within that mix. So sometimes, it's really me doing something, and other times to really feel like something is moving me or moving in me, or I'm moving as part of something bigger. Yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, but throw it out there.
Okay, I'll just open it up to the dancers who are in the theater here. You know, many of them were laughing, seeing the some of the images. So so maybe this association of these images, how it creates some response in people. And any one of you would like to ask how it was your relationship to the ideas of senses in the workshop process, and maybe how you relate to the piece. Who wishes to ask? Anaka, you want to go? Who? Asha, you want to go? No. Nuhar. I'm sorry, Ruhi.
Thank you so much for this treat. The juxtaposition and interposition, like what we sort of played with, we actually saw it get manifested, and it was just really, like, it was wonderful. I was just curious about how the piece was received with the people sitting in the theater without without having an experience of the camera. So yeah, I was just curious how that worked out.
You want to start?
Thank you, Rocky. Brilliant question. When we first made the performance, there was no audience in the auditorium. So it was everything through the screen. All the audiences were engaging with the work through the screen. But this time round, we had that level of the performance going on, and we had people in the auditorium. What you couldn't see in the recording in there is that we placed screens in the auditorium so that people could see both what was happening on stage and what Tao was seeing through his camera in real time. So they were actually having an audience in the auditorium was having a hybrid experience of the work, where they being able to see the result, the movie that is being created, but at the same time how that is being made possible. And I think that was a brilliant discovery for us, because when we made the work, we didn't know that was possible. And now that we've tried it, we think it's another layer to the piece that we're very glad that we've discovered.
Yeah, that's definitely so. Actually, we are all having the same experience here in the theater here, both live and also the image. Anaka, you have the question?
It's not really a question. I just wanted to thank you for this performance and the movie. I also wanted to say that one really interesting connection that I could make was each time you found the ingredient, it was like figuring out life. For some reason, you know how you figure something out, and then there is a next step that you need to, and there is something missing, so you find that, and then it was that connection I made. It was very interesting. I was like, wow. Yeah, so thank you for that. It was a great movie.
Hi, my name is Ranganathan, and I really enjoyed the film. It was really great. What took me off course was it was like watching one of those musicals from animated movies, like Disney movies, where whenever I watch Disney movies, I'm like, yeah, this is good and all, like, it's amazing, but this can never happen in real life. Like, how are they moving? How are they, like, how can the faces be so animated? How can this happen? And like, and even if I thought, like, even if, super people are there who are able to do all this, like, the cartoony stuff, but still, I don't think the camera could work such a way. And then today I lost it when I saw everything happening. It was really like a Disney movie happening. And in between, it was like a book. So it's like a picture book. So the actors and the theater elements where the costumes were also changed. It was happening. And then when the dancers came in, it was as if I was reading text. because I think it changes, right? The attention and everything. And also I was thinking like, if I've not done much theaters, like, yeah, I've only danced. But when I've noticed when we do it on stage, there is a tendency that we have to present in certain directions of the stage. But here, because I think you shot it as a film, there was a freedom that you could turn around, you could do a lot of stuff. You didn't care if the audience would they be able to see it or not behind the panel. So I think working that way would be, I don't know, I thought if I would be working that, it would be a big change for me. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ranganathan. Anybody wish to say anything? While I ask Nuhar, is there any questions from the online, Nuhar?
None at the moment, Jay.
Okay. So, Joan, I also would like to say how fantastic it was to work with Scottish Dance Theatre again. You know, we have such a long experience of working with you, and always such a pleasure to work with the team. And I also want to say, apart from all of you there and the tech team, also Amanda and Nelson Fernandez, and also Meera, Christian, who all worked very hard, and Nuhar from Artistic worked hard to make this happen. So any final comments, Joan?
Just to really extend those thanks to you, Jay, and to all your team for hosting us so brilliantly. Yeah, we are just thrilled, and you know, hearing those comments from people in the audience, we were all just getting so excited to hear what you read in the work, how you feel this three-dimensionality, the images being animated, all of that. It's just yeah, wonderful to hear that, and that sense of progression and learning in the work, how you find out about yourself, and I think that was somehow also, you know, under a lot of what we were asking ourselves. So yeah, just to thank you and all the dancers that have taken part into the workshop. It's been we've got a question maybe before I wrap up. There's a question in the chat. Melanie's asking, was the piece planned before COVID times and then adapted? No, it absolutely came up from the experience that we had that we've all had and coming together. So yeah, no, it wasn't pre-planned. And then second question, how did the ideas of the dancers come into the creation? Kieran, do you want to talk a little bit about that? How did you feed into your ideas into the creation?
So Joan often works in a collaborative way. So maybe he suggests ideas and we get to explore them and bring them to life. And I really think it's that that relationship throughout. He often gives us a lot of space as well for us to play. And you see a lot of play in the work. And I think especially in those times, it was really important for us to have that freedom and liberate ourselves and reconnect, you know, with those emotions and feelings that were really real inside. So yeah, I think Joan really tries to pull those out of us and liberate us. But also we all have a very close relationship, so he knows us very well, and I think that is also an amazing skill to see people for real and allow them to have the space on camera and on stage to become.
Okay, Nuhar, can I wrap?
Yes, Chair. I just have a couple of closing thoughts. So once you are done, I would just hand it back to me, please. Thank you.
Yeah. So I just want to say a big thank you to Jonathan Kennedy and Roshni Rao of the British Council and all the team Artistic, all the staff, and also from Transmedia Technology. And we have wonderful documentation artists, that Rajkumar Samuel on still photography and Vishnu Nambiar on video. And JJ has been helping us with all the streaming. And I also want to say, all of you who have joined here, thank you so much for your unstinting support for the festival and for being such a wonderful audience. Our next event is an Indo-Japanese multimedia dance co-production, Scape, a collaboration between two acclaimed choreographers, Ryu Suzuki from Japan and Hema Bharati Palani from India, on 22nd March at 7:30 p.m. at the Bangalore International Center. This production and performance is supported by the Japan Foundation. This is an offline live event that also probably will be a thank you evening for all the artists to gather at BIC. So please book your tickets and mark it in your calendar so that, and spread the word, please. This 10th edition of Art Gallery India Biennial is supported by the International Relief Fund for Organizations in Culture and Education 2021 of the German Federal Foreign Office, the Goethe Institute, and other partners. We also would like to thank the Goethe Institute, Maximum Bhavan, Bangalore, for their support and partnership, which made this festival possible. Our gratitude also to all other partners and funders, supporters, patrons, artists, technicians, Art Gallery staff, and above all, you, the audience, viewers of the Art Gallery Biennial, who made the festival such a success so far. Thank you so much. I will now hand over to Nuhar Bansal. Over to you, Nuhar.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jay. And this has been a fabulous evening. Thank you very much, everybody. My closing thoughts are very brief. I would just like to reiterate that the workshop presentation that made by the participants of the workshop by SDT will be available for viewing on Art Gallery's Facebook and YouTube page for as long as we plan to keep it. It has no expiration period. So please do go back and look at it. It's a wonderful experiment that I think should be seen by a lot more people. The film Life and Times is going to be available for viewing for the next 3 days only. So please spread the word and share the link, post which it's going to become unavailable. This conversation that we just had, however, is also going to remain available for a reasonable time in the future on Art Gallery's Facebook and YouTube pages. So you can access them there. And like Jay mentioned, we have the closing event of the festival on 22nd of March. Please mark your calendars, and the registration links, ticket links will be out very soon. I'm now going to stop recording, and
recording stopped.
And one last thing, if I may request of all the wonderful audiences here, is